Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name's Hayden.
And we're here today in a very different location. You're probably thinking the blue lights have come with us, but nothing else, because we've brought our special friends with us. Hayden, do you want to introduce them?
Our special friend. Well, firstly, you might recognise this one here. We've got Sophie, and Sophie has been on the podcast before and is the co-founder of StoryZoo.
Very happy to be back.
We'll be diving into that a bit more later, probably wondering why is she back. And we've also got Mr. Ben Sampson, who, if you are an avid listener, you will recognise. We've talked about Ben a few times. Ben, have you listened to us talk about you on the podcast?
Yeah, loads.
Yeah.
Stop me. I can't get enough of it.
So what we're going to do here today is it's very exciting for us because, as you might have noticed as well, we've got a brand new podcast cover. Same pictures. Didn't bother going for new pictures, but brand new design. And at the bottom it says, sponsored by MathsZoo. And we're here to launch and talk about, anyone who's been listening for a while would have heard of MathsZoo repeatedly, but these are the people, well, some of the people would be working on this platform. So we want to talk about what it is, what it does, how it's going to help your school. But I think firstly, we should just get to know these guys a bit because we're pretending to be serious at the minute. I think it's going to be nice and chilled out. It's going to be a good episode for you guys, and you can get to know the team a bit better behind MathsZoo.
Right, Sophie, let's go to you first. Like we said, you've been on the podcast before. It's been a little while. People might not know or remember exactly what it is that you do. So I'd like to hear a bit of your journey, how you came out of the classroom and what you do now.
Yeah, so it has been a journey, hasn't it, since I last spoke to you. It's so lovely to be back. Thank you for having me. So I'm a primary school teacher. I was a dancer before I was a primary school teacher, and I think that's quite important in my journey because I was a career changer, and I think that has an effect on the kind of teacher that you are. So I wasn't fresh into a classroom. I had taught children in a different situation before, teaching them to dance. Obviously a lot less pressured. But yeah, so I was a dancer and then I became a teacher, and then I fell pregnant with my daughter as I was going into the classroom. So I think that really switched up my priorities. And I couldn't believe when I was in the classroom how much pressure teachers were under. And I think I mentioned this on the pod before, but the lack of resources and some of the setup, some of the expectations, I just couldn't believe. And I wanted to change that. And so with the help of Ben and our wonderful team, we developed StoryZoo. And I really wanted to position StoryZoo as a way of getting children reading for pleasure, and that's what it's developed into, but to really take the strain off of teachers and make everybody's lives just a little bit better. So now I'm out of the classroom, and I know that was our discussion last time before you took that leap. And it's a very different way of living and a lot to get used to. I think we were having a conversation the other day about how there's loads of benefits, and there's loads of benefits for my own children, but also those lines between work and home get a bit more blurry, because I wasn't one for doing lots of planning and things at home. I tried to keep it all in school. So yeah, the lines are slightly different now. So, but like positives and negatives, I think, from the change, but all positives work-wise. I mean, I love working for StoryZoo. I love the team that we've got, and now MathsZoo, which is super exciting.
I mean, you've got to say it because Ben's there now. But I love it.
I'll sort you out at 20 quid later.
I think it's actually a really good time to talk to Ben then, because we've like Ben's been lurking around. We've mentioned him before. We're working with Ben. And I think when we first met you guys, so when we were on the podcast, we had a meeting after we met Ben, we met all the team. And for me, it was really inspiring because I think we have the same aims in terms of we want to help as many children as possible.
Yeah. Why
else would you become a teacher? Like, it's not for the money, is it? We know that. So I think when we first met you guys and speaking to Ben for the first time, what I got from you, Ben, was real passion about education. And I think it's easy a lot of the time when you talk to people who are in this world of kind of private companies but trying to get into education, their first mindset is just, oh, I just want to make money. I just see it's an easy way in. Schools need to spend to do stuff. Whereas when we spoke to you, it felt like it was really like a passion of yours and almost like a cause you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, I struggled at school quite a lot. So for me, it is personal. I'm quite lucky on my business journey. I've done many different things in many different industries, and I've been an entrepreneur since I was a young age, even at school. But obviously now things are a lot better, and brilliant teachers like you guys are a lot more aware of kids that essentially have special educational needs. I was one of those kids. People watching the pod will notice I'll be fidgeting and moving around for the whole episode. But yeah, I've got quite severe ADHD. Really struggled at school. I was a square peg in a round hole. And for me, this is personal. I've been lucky to be relatively successful in other walks of life, and now it's about making an impact and making a difference. And you know, for anyone as well that thinks EdTech's super profitable and super easy, they can think again, because I can tell you for one thing, it's not, especially not yet. But for me, the primary driver is for us to get these products rolled out and actually make a significant impact. And I think a lot of EdTechs and a lot of people in education virtue signal and talk about, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But like for me, I think with us, we provide, you know, proven data. We're really keen to give controlled trials and actually speak to people and prove our worth first, versus just talking like a mumbo jumbo and not delivering. So yeah, it's personal for me, this, versus just being, you know, primarily about money. And you guys are the same. Like when we met you guys after you met Soph, like talking about the maths, what you wanted to release, how you wanted to do it, and how passionate you both were. You know, my attitude is probably partly because of my ADHD. Like instead of thinking about it, I just do. So I was like, all right, well, let's just do it together.
It moved quickly, didn't it? Like, I'm not being funny, but it was good.
From a conversation hearing your plan, obviously you've had these plans for a long, long time. And then that day, hearing all your ideas, we were like, right,
just do it.
I remember the moment, because obviously, like, so it's nice to think that the catalyst of all this was literally you coming on the podcast and talking about that. It's funny how things can just emerge, isn't it? From that, like just a conversation. And then I just remember whenever it was afterwards where we had that sort of more formalised, deep conversation of like, okay, well, this is actually what we want to do, and this is what you guys are trying to achieve. And I just remember being like, thinking to Dylan, I was like, right, we have to really sort of pitch this correctly and sell it. And Ben, within about 12 seconds of hearing the idea and the passion, was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. And I was like, okay, do you want to hear more? He's like, yeah, no, you're in, let's do it, let's go.
Yeah.
But it's about the people you work with. Like, I think you can tell very quickly with people who you meet, especially in the sense of like, you're a professional, you want to get something out there. I could tell very quickly with you guys, you were the right type of people. You're the type of people I wanted to be around and work with. And it's nice to feel like you had that same trust in us. Because I think we've spoken about this a lot, and there'll be a lot of teachers listening now who feel like trust is just like been eroded over time.
100%.
What they can, like, as a professional decide to do for their children, it's been stripped away because it's been told from the top down, no, do this, do that. And as a teacher who we've been in the classroom for 10 years, getting into this different environment and seeing you guys, it's scary for us because we weren't sure what to do. But again, within half an hour, we were like, okay, well, we're doing this. We're going to make it work.
Well, we had so much experience with EdTech platforms. I mean, obviously over our career, like so many EdTech things just generally in our careers where they were a bit of a nuisance, like even just trying to get support on certain things.
Being polite.
I know, I'm really polite, but I always remember, like, I won't name the brand, but even like early in my career, I remember on like a help desk saying to a company, like, I'll be really, really useful for like everyone if this thing could happen. They're like, yeah, we'll put it into development. It took them like 4 years to genuinely action this thing, at which point I'd moved on. And when we spoke to you guys, I remember thinking, oh yes, this is how it's supposed to be, in terms of like, you've got a teacher at the top, really, like you were driving StoryZoo. Your business sense came in, and I was like, this is the perfect pairing, because you actually get stuff done and you do the things that matter, and you listen to every single user, you listen to all the children that are using it. Like, everything you were doing was built towards it just being a great problem solver for education. So then we were like, oh my god, we have to. It's
so centric to StoryZoo, and then in turn it's going to be centric to MathsZoo, because they're the people I was the person using it, you were the people using it, and like you said, so many times you're like, oh, this would be great if it did this, or it would be great if I didn't have to spend half an hour learning how to use it. And that was really important in our development of StoryZoo, wasn't it? It was amazing. I sat behind the children using it, and we looked for like where they were clicking and where they intrinsically went to do things. And I was like, yeah, this is what it should be set up as. Like this, it should be built around the children and the users, and specifically teachers, because why should you spend an hour with your PPA learning how to use somebody's software who's never stepped foot in a classroom? And I think that's what teachers are getting most annoyed about when I speak to them, is that we are being dictated to by people that have never stepped foot in a classroom. And that's what I never felt like with Ben and the team, because they have been on the other side of education. I don't think you mind me saying, not had the easiest school journey. No. Ben, for any teachers listening, is the one child you love teaching but hate having in your classroom for an observation.
Like, I was kicked out, they sent me on school. Genuinely, I had more school trips than any child ever. So they would send me on fully funded school trips, primary and secondary, when there was assessments. Whether they should have done that or not, I don't know. But I was never in the class.
I was never in it.
Probably not the most inclusive aspect.
I was just kicked out. You don't belong, mate. See you later.
Hopefully doesn't happen now, but yeah, definitely the one that used to send to another classroom with a note.
Definitely.
You should go into that a bit more, though. That's genuinely interesting, because
I think that's probably shaped my approach to business. Like, I think where it's an adjustment for all of you, and you guys won't mind me saying, is like, I think people, when they run businesses and they grow, there's a difference between kind of dictators and leaders. And for me, I feel an obligation to you guys as stakeholders in these businesses. It's my job to enable you guys to do your job the best as possible, and you guys are the experts, and that's, you know, I walk the walk. I'm not just saying that for the sake of the pod. You guys see it day in, day out. So for me, probably being dictated to as a kid and told you must fit in this box and you must do that probably makes me a bit off the wall and not really see any limits or boundaries in life, because that's what I'm like. I met you guys like, yeah, passion, boom, let's do it. End of. So I think, yeah, for me, the approach needs to be where every other EdTech I think differs, is you'll either have really strong teachers, academics that go and build really brilliant, you know, EdTech or just educational resources, of which we've seen a few, or you'll have kind of what I would say are profiteers, these capitalist companies that come in, they see an industry which I don't mind saying is pretty far behind. I find it quite shocking that my maths, for example, is still used. I was using that 13 years ago. These things aren't moving on, they don't move quick. So you see these big tech conglomerates think, oh, we can just go in there and smash that, and they completely ignore the foundations of education. Whereas for me, it's like, you guys lead on maths, Soph leads on English, and my job is to provide you with the best tech and the best resource to deliver. And I think where we do differ is we have the speed of a tech company, but we actually have the foundation of an education platform, which is obviously massively different to anyone else we've spoken to or seen so far. So it's exciting.
It must have been quite shocking for you, to be fair, because we've always been in this world. Do you know what I mean? So we often talk about how, like, one of our biggest gripes of education is literally just how slow it is in all aspects, not even just EdTech. It's like, you just look at how classroom practice has developed and everything, and then you've come in from an area where realistically things move at like hyper speed.
Yeah, we're fast moving consumer tech. Like, I was full service marketing agency, worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, built, you know, John, our CTO, together we built some huge sort of blockchain protocols, you know, the forefront of technology. So we went to a conference, didn't we, Soph, in Birmingham?
I took them
and
to,
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Schools and Academy show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, this is so far behind. But I think I've learned with time, you need to find that balance, right? Like, education and educators are under so much pressure and they're so resource constrained, they won't have the capacity to move at lightning speed by no fault of their own. So like, we've kind of found that middle ground. I was like, it's our job to assess and to study, like Soph said, how kids are using our product, how they're engaging with it, and we'll in the background do all that fast work, and really with the aim of just keep making your lives, or, you know, your colleagues' lives easier, really.
My favourite thing about your approach, which you often say, because obviously you have a lot of meetings and things, is like, you are very, very problem solution.
Yeah.
Like, everything you do is always, what is the problem? Just give us the problem, whether we have to find it out ourselves or we get told the problem in education, and then we will think of a solution to that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like you were saying, a lot of the other companies, or just in general in business, I don't know, are just thinking, what is the most profit we can make?
Yeah.
And how do we do that, rather than what problem can we actually solve?
Or they find a winning problem solution and then just sit on it. So they'll get a few thousand schools and they go, right, happy days, sit back, cash cow now, and they're just complacent. Whereas the personal element for me is I want to actually transform and shape education in a positive way. Like, you know, I know it's cringe, but like, everyone's like, oh, you've got to see change, you've got to be change. It's real. Like, if you actually want to see a difference, we've got the opportunity now to actually do it. I think, like I said earlier in the pod, like, everyone goes on about it, everyone talks about these big changes. We've got a few campaigns that we're looking at now where we've signed up for them, you know, they're funded or government backed, and it's just a bunch of virtue signaling. We're trying to say to them, like, okay, how do we engage? What can we do to drive this forward? We can't even get a reply to an email. So it's like, for us, we actually want to be that change and demonstrate it. And I think another thing I would say that shocked me about EdTech is the lack of data and the lack of like proof of like, here's a product that works and this is why you should use it. Like, I think there should become a point where EdTechs publicly disclose, all of them, their data and how it's being engaged with in school, so everyone knows it's a level playing field and everyone knows where they stand, and so teachers know. Like, I would say, I know teachers get dictated to by CEOs and Matt, but like, they should hold these EdTechs accountable and hold us accountable. Like, we're obviously talking about MathsZoo and StoryZoo. Ask us about our data, ask us about our usage, ask us about why we built these features, because the amount of products we see where I'm seeing a mad disconnect between, oh, kids are struggling to read, oh, and this is the number one product. Well, 2 + 2 = 4. There's a reason why kids are struggling to read, and that's the biggest product. Maybe we should change the product, right? So that's a big thing for me, is like, that needs to be thought about and in the public consciousness, I think.
It's wild, isn't it? Declining reading, but this is our number one product.
So reading goes like this, and then the product's popularity goes like that, and no one sees the correlation. I'm like, come on, guys.
But do you find, again, Sophie, you've worked in schools, we've worked in schools, and Ben coming from the outside, I'll be really honest, and we've got to look at ourselves here a bit as a profession. I feel like sometimes we're very reluctant and against change. If we know stuff's worked for a long time, we've said it before, when people have come into schools and said, we're doing it this way now, and we've been the first people to say, we know what we're doing, leave us alone, we're cracking on. But there's got to be a point where, like you said there with the data, I think as a profession, we need to make that leap and be able to change our practice when it's backed up. And I think maybe that's probably a stumbling block.
Yeah, do you not think it comes from, because I think about my time in the classroom where people that would come to do observations weren't necessarily backed by the experience or the specific knowledge to back up what they were telling me to do. I think of one example when I had a SEND specialist come in, and the advice was to give everybody blue tack, and you can imagine how that ended. So we had blue tack in eyes and blue tack in mouths and God knows where else, but you're taking away the autonomy of that professional, and that doesn't happen in many other. You wouldn't see somebody in a hospital saying to a doctor, well, actually, I'm going to come and watch what you're doing and take that autonomy away from you, and then I'm going to tell you what you need to do to improve. It's a really bizarre situation that we've created in education, where we don't fully trust professionals, but we're also going to tell them to change on the switch of a coin. Like
it makes sense, doesn't it? Why would you change when you feel like the person telling you has no authority over you?
Exactly that. And when you've been burnt so many times, like these schools, we say all the time, don't we, have been burnt so many times by not just EdTech companies, but professionals, government, everybody that has had a play in the education system, that why would they trust us? We have to earn that trust, and that's what we do every day, and we will put our product on that test and show you that it works. And we have things like no minimum license fee, because there's a whole group of schools that can't access EdTech because you have to have a certain number of children. Well, if you've only got 35 children in your specialist provision, like there's a lot of things that we can do to prove our worth before somebody has to invest, and I think that's really important.
I think as well, I've noticed from someone that wasn't in education or in a classroom, there's a real, and it's I don't know who's at fault, it's maybe mutual fault, but there's a real kind of, and I remember broaching it with you guys quite early on, there's quite a mutual kind of animosity and friction between trust and school, which I think really needs to be solved. And I would love to, as part of our journey, if we can, I said it to you guys, like, once again, problem solution, why don't we go and get a CEO of a trust and a teacher on the couch and actually let them have that conversation and air their frustrations in a public format? Because I think there's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding. I've been fortunate enough to meet some CEOs of trust, meet some people at Matt level that are brilliant, and obviously I've got you brilliant teachers working with me on this journey. So like, I think there's a lot of misconceptions, and I think unfortunately the worst actors in every area of education essentially make it worse for everyone else. It's the same as you get these chancer edtechs that come in, provide an awful product, charge an absolute fortune, effectively rip schools off, if we're being honest about it. And then as a result, then any other edtech that tries to get into that mat or speak to that school indefinitely is completely tarred with the same brush. And I think it's the same with CEOs, it's the same with trust. You get one bad CEO, you get one bad head, and naturally as a human being, your back's up then. And any other new things that come in, you're completely against it, because, and you know, by lived experience, so you can't really diminish that and say a teacher's in the wrong for feeling like that, because they've been made to feel like it, right? So, but vice versa, when you've probably got a real boundary pusher of a CEO, which similar to your CEO, really, she's brilliant. Amazing, she's amazing. She's really pushing the boundaries. I would love to speak to her, for example, and she probably has come up against so much friction as a result of the CEO prior to her, or other mats and bad experiences. So I think there's work to be done there. I don't know how. I can't really give the solution to that. It's got quite a big one, a nuanced one. But
a new member of the Zoo group, I don't know.
But there's just a lot of animosity. And you're not gonna. No one's gonna grow and learn from a position of animosity. When people are coming into your school and your back's up immediately, you're not gonna learn. But vice versa, there are some CEOs and some trusts that have a blatant disregard for teachers and almost treat them like the haves and the have-not, to like they're second-class citizens, which is just it's just not right. So it's a tough one, but it's a challenge we're excited about. And
I agree, because like, you know, speaking of this last example of people, we call out that sort of stuff a lot, and we have historically on our podcast called out that sort of thing, because we feel like there needed to be a voice to stand up for those people.
Well, there was a power imbalance.
Exactly, power imbalance.
That's the right way to say it. Yeah,
but you're absolutely right though. In terms of long term, like we've actually discussed it, like as a team, that we'd love to get some people on the podcast who absolutely just embody the opposite of that. Do you know what I mean? Because we know they exist.
There are so many out there.
There's loads of them.
Like, and they're special people.
But I wouldn't have seen that unless I had changed lanes and gone into developing stories. I wouldn't have met. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet CEOs because I wasn't in that playing field. So that for your average teacher, are not going to experience those, and you don't know what's out there. And I think that's really important. This is my recruitment advice, if you want to do a little snippet of this, is that you're interviewing that school as much as they're interviewing you.
100%.
And there are
100%.
so many amazing, like you said, trailblazing schools and trusts and CEOs out there, and you've just got to find where your ethos fits within that. And I think that's one thing that I wasn't very experienced in. I would have taken any job because that was how I was brought up. Like, someone offers you a job, that's amazing, you take it, but actually you've got to find those real people that fit with your ethos, and that's different for everyone, isn't it?
I love that you guys call it out though, because I think what people struggle with, and I think people transitioning from education into kind of entrepreneurship, is that, not imposter syndrome, but that respect for authority.
Yeah.
And like, I remember when I went to South School and we was first on the StoryZoo journey, I instantly reverted back to scared little Ben that was always in trouble. I was like, yes miss, no miss, hi miss. That was like,
You've come with your backpack.
Yeah, genuinely. Soph was like, I mean, you guys know me, I'm not nervous about anything. I walk into any room with anyone. Soph was like, are you all right? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, it was all a bit much for me.
We found your kryptonite.
Yeah, literally. So I think it's similar coming from education. I think teachers are so used to being dictated to, and it's such a professional environment, it's so high pressure, and you're essentially told you do X and you must do Y. It's so hard for, like you said, so for teachers to understand that, you know, they've got a voice as well, and it's as much about them as it is about the trust. And I would encourage teachers, although it's scary and daunting, when from the top down, and including ours, right, there will come a time with most of you listeners, I'm sure, the top down will say, use Stories or use MathsZoo. Hold them to account and ask them, okay, why? Like, what's the reasoning behind this?
Yeah.
What can you demonstrate to us? If you're a head, if you're a deputy head, what can you demonstrate for us, for our school, how this is going to make a difference and how it's going to work? Hold these people to account. And it has to start there, and that will get pushed up the chain, because I always say, of anyone you meet in life, we're all just humans, right? We all bleed the same. We all leave with nothing. Like, end of the day, I know they might be your deputy head or your boss, but the fact is, if you ask them to prove something and they can't, it says it all, right? And you can do it in a professional way. So I think there is a real struggle for teachers to feel like they have a voice, they have a right to speak, and they can say stuff, because they're so used to being told, oh, what do you know? Just, this is how we do it in our blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't do that. You should hold these people to account.
And you're not a problem if you do that.
Right.
No
That's how I felt at the
way.
end.
Yeah,
I felt
I know.
like,
how dare you
question it?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean we can't do this? I'm telling you to do this right now. It's like, mate, I've done this for 10 years.
Dylan
100%.
obviously worked at Eton then.
What is the charge? Eating a meal?
I didn't know you worked for the King, man. I didn't know that.
It's a good point, though.
I get posh when I'm angry. That's
Because
Yeah.
you're not, I think typically then you fall into, you can be union rep because you make,
Yes.
I think I had,
Yeah.
I did see an ex-colleague who was also a friend, and they said, our staff meetings are so quiet since you left. And I was like, but why are they? They shouldn't be, because I'm not the only person, and I know I'm not the only person that felt like that. So just because my voice has left doesn't mean that those issues don't need to be raised. You're not a problem if you raise those issues. I was always professional. You can always do it in a professional way. It doesn't have to be personal.
Yep.
I mean, I am an emotional wreck, so I probably did have a few tears along the way.
We all are. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's loads
It's
of times.
because you care, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, we've joked about it, haven't we? Where actually we look back and reflect. And there's probably some times where I could have.
Quite a few times.
You, to be fair.
Quite a few times.
Where
both
we
of
maybe
us.
could have dealt with the situation a bit differently and not
100%.
got emotional in that moment and then made it into a bigger thing. And actually
Yeah.
just walked away and thought, you know what? I want to give them this feedback. I'm going to
Yeah.
think of a professional way. Not even professional, literally just polite.
Yeah.
I'm just going to think of a polite human interaction that I can have with this other person who, like you said, is just another human being at the end of the day doing a different job role to you.
Yeah.
And may
if
just
it's
have
hard.
a different perspective on it. And that's what I've learned since leaving, is that although I always had the best intentions, maybe I didn't have all of the vision and the view of what was going on, because obviously I never ran a school at head level. Like,
No,
I
of
didn't.
course.
So I had what was going on in my classroom, and I didn't have that overarching view of the rest of the school. So
But I think it's a school's job to educate other stakeholders. Though, like, right,
100%.
even with our business, everyone's got different roles, everyone's got different percentages,
Yeah.
different involvements, different pay packets. And I'm not like a traditional employer or entrepreneur. Like, I'm very transparent. Everyone should know, and everyone should be educated on whose role is why it is what it is, and why they're being compensated for that, and how it compares to market. Right? I think maybe that is part of the solution with trust, is CEOs grounding themselves, being more human, and actually meeting with it. For every time they think to themselves, I'm going to dictate, like, I try and do it. Like, if I'm going to get on a call and say, right, so if I need to do this, or guys, should we do this? I try and at least ask as much as I'm telling, right?
Yeah,
I think it'd be good for people, you know, in those positions to come in, and when they're being dictatorial, to explain the reasoning, to explain why, but also ask, what's your lived experience? How are you dealing with X, Y, Z? Where can we help you? Because really at the trust level, they should be looking at how they can enable all of their teachers and their operatives, shall we say, in school to do the best possible job.
Yeah.
So they need to be asking as much as they're telling. And if they're not asking, they haven't got the right data or information to make an informed decision. That's just a fact. Because we wouldn't be able to build the products we build without asking. We ask many more questions than we do tell, right? So
100%.
I think that is part of the solution. Like, you at a school should have been in a position where you was educated on what that role is, what it consists of, and how, and you wasn't. And that's not your responsibility to go and self-learn that. It's the responsibility of senior stakeholders to explain and make it clear to those that are less senior, shall we say, in the hierarchy, of what their role is, why it is important, why it's so compensated so significantly, because that's the elephant in the room as well. You've got teachers that are getting paid half or a third of what these guys are getting paid, and they're thinking, how are you getting paid all this money? You're coming in here telling me what to do. But it's their job, in my opinion, it's their responsibility to explain that to teachers and say, we're compensated for X because we take responsibility for Y, and we actually have outcomes that are Z. Like, I'm all for academisation if it's positive and it's having an impact, and you're going into schools and you're making a huge difference and you're turning outcomes around. But the problem is, you have also got academies that are just straight profiteers. They'll go in, take a bunch of money off the government, get swaths of grants, they'll put CEOs on big fat pay packets and change nothing. And that's where that kind of...
And that's who you see, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's who teachers see in the news, because teaching's quite isolating sometimes. I just know my school, my little school, we're in a trust of 3 or 4 schools. But I've read online, this trust CEO's on 500 grand a year. It's disgusting. And then you're making generic points. And we do that a lot. Like, we'll say SLT when they do this, or trust CEOs when they do that. It's probably as problematic, and we should probably definitely, we should draw it back a bit, because if someone was saying teachers when they can't teach properly, I'd be what do you mean? We're not all the same. What do you mean all teachers? Well, no, in the same way I don't mean all trust members, all trust CEOs.
And as controversial as it is to say on the pod, the quality of teaching as someone that's outside is getting impacted by no fault of teachers, though, because funding's getting cut. Like, with all due respect to the teaching profession, it's the government's job to make it an appealing career that people want to go into. I don't know the stats on it, but I would be shocked if it's a growing career. It must be a declining one, because it's getting harder and harder. It's clear for every stakeholder in teaching that it's getting harder and harder. And stuff like, we're going to give out free school meals, but actually it comes out of your budget. Well, you're not giving out free school meals. You're just chopping their legs off even further. You get this, like you say, the generalised. People could generalise, teachers are bad, this bad teaching. There probably are bad teachers. I was unfortunately a victim of some very bad teaching. I was told I'd never make it, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, you're a nuisance. I was made to feel awful growing up, and, it affected my confidence, as everyone can tell, by the way.
It helped in the long run.
It really affected me. I'm just so shy. But I think that I'm labouring the point, but I just...
It could have, though. If it had been me and my personality type, it could have definitely affected me. Lucky for me, I just flew under the radar. Didn't make too much noise, didn't make a fuss of myself, didn't draw attention. But if I had been told that could have been...
I had a teacher I won't name when I was in year 8 or 9. So I was diagnosed early by today's standards, but late by those standards. Because I know now there's a huge waiting list and it's so difficult to get diagnosed. But I was diagnosed probably year 9, year 10. And I remember sort of year 8, year 9, when my mum was really advocating for me. They didn't really understand it at schools then. I mean, I'm talking like it's the 70s. It wasn't long ago. Like, I'm only 28 now. But,
you're only 17 now.
It was last year.
It was last year. But like 10, 15 years ago, my mum was up the school constantly advocating for me, like, just engage him, give him more. If you engage him, he'll be sort of bought in. And my head of year told me when I was at school that he didn't believe in ADHD. I don't believe it's just a load of rubbish, using it as an excuse. And where I'm obviously hugely fortunate in life, but I was unfortunate in a school setting, as I was bright with ADHD. So what happened is my brightness enabled me to mask a lot of what my struggle was. So because I would excel academically, they would give me almost too much credit. They would think I was so clever that I was just manufacturing all these symptoms so I could get away with being in class. So it's like, well, you're clever, so you can't have ADHD, which is insane. So in year 8 or 9, my head of year told me that ADHD is not real, using it as an excuse. So completely diminished sort of my sense of self and how I felt. By year 10 or 11, that same head teacher's son was diagnosed with ADHD. He was year 5 or year 6.
Oh, it was real now.
Yeah, this individual had the audacity to come to me and say, I just wondered how it's been sort of dealing with ADHD and if I could get your opinion.
Have some tips.
Yeah, and I'm like... So
wild.
I had some bad teaching, but I think bad teachers get the wider teacher community tarred with the same brush.
Yeah.
The same way that bad CEOs and bad trusts get the wider trust and CEO community tarred with the same brush. And I've seen it with you guys. You're some of the best people I've ever met. And if I had taken my attitude towards teachers from what my lived experience was, I would never be sat here now. We wouldn't be making the changes we were. And I wouldn't be working with you because I think, teachers are inherently bad. So I think everyone can change their attitude towards each other, and hopefully it can make a big difference.
it's just sad, isn't it? Like hearing that story genuinely makes me feel like quite sad that if it has got worse since then as well, which it has realistically, and we've talked about lots of reasons why, like declining pay, increased expectations, is obviously going to put talented, amazing people off of the job and they're going to go work somewhere else. But just to think that like it only affects the kids at the end of the day. Like what we say on our podcast all the time. Like it sounds like sometimes we're moaning, it's like, oh yeah, teachers need more pay. So well, yeah, they do. But there's always this underlying thing of everything we ever have a gripe with or complain about or critique or whatever, which is that if we don't fix it, the kids miss out. Like,
but I think what's mad about society, you talk the NHS, is like teachers and doctors and nurses are held like on this pedestal, right? But on the same way, it might be a British culture thing, they're not advocated for as if they're on the pedestal. So like everyone will treat a teacher like, oh wow, you're a teacher, oh, what a good job, But then also it's taboo for teachers to ask for more money. These are the same people that will have quarterly reviews in their 9-to-5s and ask for a pay rise periodically because they're entitled to. Like why is there this weird
because
stigma?
It's for the kids.
Yeah, like why is there this weird stigma of like any business, anything you're involved in, any institution, the best pay and the best working environment gets the best talent. So if it's about the kids, then make sure you have the best pay, the best working environment to get the best talent, and then you'll have the best outcome for the kids. It shouldn't be that taboo. It really shouldn't.
And I think they forget that the children of today are the adults of tomorrow. Like we want to set them up.
That's a line.
I've got all day. We want to set them up with the best opportunities so that we are like thinking in terms of countries. We want to be at the forefront of tech. We want to be at the forefront of that industry and this industry. But how do we achieve that without? And that's why you see the disconnect in like social mobility, which we mentioned my CEO earlier. That's her driving force, is to make sure that there is social mobility, but that doesn't just happen. That has to be factored in to give children the best opportunity to achieve, and that's just not happening, is it?
And I can say wholeheartedly from our lived experience, the average CEO that we've met and the average teacher we've met both care in equal measure 100%. And actually some brilliant people. And most people do fundamentally care about the kids and the outcomes for the kids. And I just think that so much of the conversation gets blown outside of that, and you hit the nail on the head. Ultimately it's about the kids, and that's why it's important for us. We're building, that's why we listen to the kids. If they like a feature or product, so if you loved it when you was still in school, making the transition, coming up to her, oh miss, I've just done X on stories, I've just got Y coins, it's amazing, it's brilliant, and we're all beaming just thinking about it and talking about it. That's what it's all about, and that's why I've chosen this industry, because it's not just a pay packet, it's not just cash at the end of the quarter. I mean, it's the opposite at the moment, which is fine.
Not until you guys,
I'm not bothered about it. This is the most rewarding, even though, like I say, we haven't made £1 yet, and we will. Don't get me wrong. It's we're not charity, but for me, it's the most rewarding business already I've ever been involved in, because we know from our user data that we're actually making a difference. We had a good few dozen kids read on Christmas Day, they out of their way on Christmas Day wanted to engage with stories and read for pleasure. When we know there's a reading problem in this country, a huge one, reading is declining at an unprecedented rate, and kids just aren't reading. So for us to have built a product where kids are choosing to go and read in their spare time, and the usage stats every half term are getting stronger and stronger, better and better. And to be fair, your school's the landmark in it, so if you laid the groundwork there, but it's just so rewarding. It's one of the best achievements I've had. Amongst all the things I've done, it's so cool.
This is the thing I'm really, really interested in, because we've moved obviously from school into this private business, and you're talking about how you can have an impact, and we're like, that's what we want. We want to have an impact on children. And we get sometimes people say things to us almost along the lines of what you're saying here of, oh, it's just a pay packet. Hayden and I, we've grown on social media a bit, and now it's our payday, we're just going to take it. And it's you don't fundamentally understand the only reason we're doing any of this. You said, if it starts with the kids, you're going to end up with a product that's good. If we think about MathsZoo in general, obviously we're launching MathsZoo now, and we're really passionate about it. You gave us that freedom to basically, as teachers, we got our heads together and we were like, well, actually, we want this is the niche we think needs focusing on. Children's foundations are shakier than ever. You had the same thing with reading for pleasure. And it feels sometimes like I'm trying to make these effects and these changes with you as a team, because we're trying to help the kids. And then, like you mentioned before, well, the government will just call next year the year of reading. And it's we've got to do both. We've got to be working on the same sheet. And who's going to affect more change? Hopefully, as being teachers ourselves and experienced in the classroom, we should be the ones leading that discussion. And then people like you, Ben, who are so passionate and come from that education sector, from yourself when you were younger, who didn't have the best experience and want to make it better for the kids, the one thing connecting all of us here is we want quality outcomes for the children and to build really good products. So it's going to be a good product.
I don't know if I told you guys, but we had a really nice experience yesterday. I can't remember if I fed back to you, but obviously we're launching MathsZoo right now, and we had our first demo called...
Which you can book. You can book a demo.
You can book a
right
demo.
Now, book a demo,
Dylan.
MathsZoo. You want to boost your skills of arithmetic? MathsZoo.
Wow, I like that.
That was good. That was quite good.
That was
That was
I like the
quite
little
good.
thumbs up.
Book the demo. Book
You
it.
guys should think about podcasting for a living.
Yeah. So we had our first demo, right? And the guy, it was really interesting. So he's never listening. He might be listening to this episode right now. And he said, I really wanted to see if the product that you show me actually delivers on what you say. Because obviously, of course, we talk, like, everyone talks about their own stuff. But like you said, in the private industry, you get a lot of virtue signaling, or a lot of people saying, yeah, we're solving this problem, or yeah, our product does this, and it just doesn't really do the thing it says it does. And I was really pleased to say that at the end of the call, he like properly spent some time bigging up like that what I showed him is exactly what he'd hoped based on what we'd said on the podcast, and like the little teasers and things that we'd said in the past about we are going to solve arithmetic in this country. We are going to get kids will be better at the foundations and fundamentals of maths. Big claim. Showed him the product. He was like, yeah, fair enough. And he literally said on the call, he was like, this is going to be so good for schools. Like schools are going to want this and need this.
But our ethos as a business that we're happy to share publicly is good feedback is useless, although it's great, and bad feedback is brilliant. So like, we want you to critique our product. We want you to like critique our methodology. Like, keep critiquing us so we can consistently and constantly improve.
Yeah.
And like for me, like that's good for us. Like that's what I thrive on. Like you said, I'm a problem solution driven person. Like, give us more and more problems and we'll just keep solving them. And I want everyone listening to hold us to account. Like, hold us to the best standard ever, because we will match up. And what I'm really like grateful for and excited for when we're having conversations with very senior stakeholders in education, we're looking like we're going to go down the route of people having to provide studies and data to support their outcomes. We as a team are buzzing about that, because for me it just weeds out all the rubbish. It does a job for the teachers and the CEOs who at the moment have to get bombarded by dozens of EdTech companies. Please, if anyone from the Department of Education is listening, bring some regulation in and make it so that these companies have to prove their worth, have to prove that like it's in America, the advertising standard is if you make a claim, you have to substantiate it. It should be the same, especially in education in the UK. If you claim something, you should have to substantiate it. And we know we can.
Yeah, so we're not wasting their time. I don't think it should be on teachers to investigate products. Like, obviously you've got amazing listeners and they're going to know your product and they're going to trust you, and that's incredible. But it shouldn't be down to them to prove that it works. It's our job.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's like, all the claims that you're making aren't claims. They're factual. We're going to prove to you that this is where a child starts and this is where a child finishes. And my conversation with you after the pod last time I was on, I was so infused by your passion and your knowledge and the way that you broke down arithmetic. Even to me as a teacher, I was like, wow, okay, yeah. I should have been thinking about it like this. This makes so much sense. So that is completely amazing, and I don't think that gets enough credit, does it?
No.
They are incrable.
That's why we brought you on,
You
guys.
guys are great. Yeah. You just
Your
set me up
heads aren't
like-
going to fit through the door.
You got your work cut out of me on the math side, though. Do you remember? Hayden was doing a demo once on the product. Do you remember? And this, it's going to really, really shine me in a good light. And I was like, "God, these maths questions are hard, man." Then, what year is this? Hayden's like year 4, man.
And that's why you need MathsZoo, baby.
Which I knew.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was just saying
asking.
it's so easy. Yeah.
Oh, it's exciting though, isn't it, that we're at the stage now where with the development team, John, it's just worked wonders, and seeing something that's come from our heads as like, this would be useful, to it seeing actually on the screen now, and the impact it's going to have is unbelievable. And talking to other professionals, like, I know I joked about booking a demo before, but please just book a demo, because it's the kind of thing I think as soon as teachers see it, they'll think, I can use this in my classroom every single day, and children will get better at maths. And a lot of people kind of look sometimes at arithmetic and think, well, this new curriculum, problem solving is a really important thing. That's what you want to do for maths, isn't it? And I want to say to them, yeah, it is. And this is why I want to build this. This is why we've got MathsZoo, because if you can't do the foundational maths itself first, if your children can't really confidently find a fraction of an amount, or add two numbers together, or do long multiplication or long division, if they can't do that, they're going to spend so much of their time thinking about the process and not enough of their brain time thinking about, actually, how do I solve this problem? So we're going to create problem solvers, not necessarily because they're solving problems on a platform, but because they've got so good at fluency and they've become really good at doing maths that they've aced it now. And then what the teacher can do, we're not taking away from the teacher, we're not taking away from the lessons, because what they're going to be able to do then, after they've done 10-15 minutes just fluency every single day, That's your maths lesson now. Let's do your maths lesson. Let's explore it. Let's explain it. Let's solve these problems that are really tricky, but have been made easier because you've been on MathsZoo consistently. You've got better at doing maths. Exactly. Yeah. That's it. Because if you free that up, even MathsZoo itself, where we talk about instant generation of questions constantly of exactly the type of question you want to practice, filling gaps, getting your live analysis, that allows the teacher again to teach. That's what I wanted as a teacher. I wanted that instant feedback. What can my kids do? And what can't they do? Because I know for a fact they have to all do this. They have to be able to do every single one of these arithmetic processes now. Yeah. Can you quickly give me that information? Can you quickly give me questions that are tailored exactly to that gap? Cool. That's the bit that sunk my time and was honestly felt like, God, I just need to get this done because I want to do the actual bit. MathsZoo is going to do that for you immediately. And then you can go and work with your kids. You can start an intervention group.
What really stood out to me? Whiteboard mode, which I would have eaten up every single day. Okay, they've all got this question wrong. I just need that exact question on repeat until we get it right. Whiteboards up, whiteboards down, all the time. I was
it's like, that button at the bottom, isn't it? That magic button.
Amazing. And also the ability to be able to have those children that are working so far below, or even so far above, but we still got to work within the parameters of year 4. For my Ofsted inspectors out there. But to be able to cater to that massive, because that's what I felt in the classroom, and you probably felt the same, that the gap was becoming enormous between my highest achieving and my ones that needed the most help. They're all getting exactly what they need. They're not having to sit there and do a year 1 test in year 4 and then sit there for the rest of the time reading a book or whatever other filler activity you give them. They're actually getting targeted questions that you have created, which is just amazing.
I think that's the commonality though between the stories of MathsZoo and why we gel so well. So people are probably wondering why we started where we started, but for our perspective, English and maths is your foundation to access any level of higher education. There isn't a level of higher education that you can tell us you could access apart from maybe being an athlete physically. Apart from that, there's no level of kind of high achievement that you can access without either maths, English or both. And I think what resonated with us when you started talking about your big idea for MathsZoo was that it's similar to StoryZoo in the fact that we want to, at primary school level, nail the foundations and equip these children with the ability to go into secondary, onto higher education with those foundations nailed, because then they can just become sponges and absorb learning so much better. And for us, that's where we feel like the industry and education is so far behind. That's where actually we need to start. It's a necessity, really. We have to now foundations. I mean, we're now getting inbound demand from secondary schools for kids that need to. We built StoryZoo, admittedly, for primary school. That product has been designed from the top down for primary schools. We've been in dozens of primary schools, spoke to dozens of teachers, spent hundreds, thousands of hours on that product for primary school. But kids have been let down, and it's the kids that have been let down so badly that we're now getting inbound from secondary schools that don't even need us to adapt any of the features. They're like, no, it works as it is. We need to give this to kids in year 7, year 8, year 9. So for us as our business, we want to nail the foundations, get MathsZoo right, get StoryZoo right, and give people, that access to higher education. And then really what we want to do as a group is just continuously solve problems. And I always say to the team, don't I, like, our current products today aren't our biggest USP. It's our attitude and our ethos as a team to constantly solve more and more problems. It's our biggest USP, really.
Well, we've spoke to huge thought leaders in the education space, haven't we? I won't name anyone right now, but I remember speaking to someone really big in the space who's developed an incredible product over the last decade within primary education, who literally looked at our team and looked at John, our developer, our CTO, and was almost like, oh my God, this is, I wish I could have had this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they would have to go through hoops, or they had, different structures in their business that would just make things difficult. They didn't have the development team that didn't really understand the nuances of what they were building in education. Whereas we've got John, who just understands what we're building. And then, like Dylan said, we get giddy because what was in our heads is great, but we can't make that. Like we got to a point where we're like, we can't actually make this real and work and give it to people. We can't vibe code it.
That big thought leader, by the way, shout out to him because he's a vibe coder as well.
He is a vibe coder.
So he's listening.
We'll keep that in there in case he comes on the podcast.
The vibe coder, perhaps, and then you can look back and think. But it's just amazing. Like I feel so privileged to have met you guys, in all honesty, and be a part of this team, because I feel like this is the best chance we are ever going to get, all of us really, at actually making a significant impact.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys are already doing that with StoryZoo, and MathsZoo is launching now, and I know I have no doubt in my mind that all we need to do is get the word out there, get people on demos,
and it's advocacy. It's advocacy as well, right? Like I was talking about earlier in the pod, it's probably pointing to mention it. It's really important if you do book a demo, if you do see, not just our product, by the way, any EdTech product that you see can demonstrate proven outcomes for kids, advocate it from the bottom up, because we see such a disconnect, don't we, between trust CEOs dictating downward to use it. That really hurts engagement. But equally, we have really good trials that we roll out at school level that just doesn't get it up the chain for whatever reason. It's not a blame game. If you see a product, whether it's ours or someone else's, I would honestly implore everyone to advocate for it. Show the data, because we'll present it on our platform and others should. Show the data, this is the outcomes that it's given, and really push to get it done. Because ultimately, teachers in that instance, if you do that, you can... All teachers care about kids fundamentally. As a teacher, if you see a product that works and you advocate for it, you can not only affect the outcomes of kids in your class, but you can do it trust-wide or even multi-trust-wide, because this is a journey that we are not going to be able to do what we're setting out to do, which is a huge mission on our own. We need everyone that's listening, everyone that's involved to get on side and do it with us.
Yeah, 100%. It's just so exciting, because I look at it and I think, like you said, getting it in front of the eyes of the right people is the thing we're always talking about, isn't it? It's like, who can we get it in front of? And you're right, it's everyone. We need to get it in front of everyone. There's not one group of people in a school who need to see this. The teachers need to see it. The teaching assistants need to see it. The middle management need to see it. The maths leaders, the English leaders, the CEOs, and the kids.
100%.
Exactly.
It's
I want to see
better.
kids doing it.
Yeah.
Because that to me, I can't describe to you how happy that'll make me feel when I see a child sat doing some maths work on the platform that we built, and it's making them better at maths, and it's giving them what they need. Like, what bigger buzz?
And we're doing our bit. Like, we're working. We won't name names yet because it's pre-announcement, but we are working really, really hard to get some huge names. Like, for us, it's not just teachers either and trusts and CEOs. It's the public consciousness, right? Like, as you guys know, you've seen my journey back into education, and I've been absolutely gobsmacked by how far behind the technology is, how poor some teaching has got. Like I say, it's not a blame game, but just how poor the industry has become by no fault of any one individual stakeholder. It's just become somewhat of a broken system. We're trying our absolute best, and we're hoping we can get it done to get some big names, professional athletes involved, big news coverage, and try to get them involved, get them to understand and care, and really advocate for our platform. And really what we want to try and do is get on BBC, get on ITV, get on all these big publications and these big news outlets, and make this part of the public consciousness. So problem solution, let's see if we can do it.
There you go.
The listeners will see.
Manifest it. Put it out there. Someone's listening right now. Someone can make it happen.
I just wish people could like book a demo or like imagine if people could get their maths leads involved and they could like
it's only in the description of this podcast episode.
And if there's like a link
down the bottom,
and they can click on it and book it.
If you're a maths lead, even better. Like,
That'd be crazy. Because then they could get a trial for their school,
or an English lead, StoryZoo. I think it's a shared calendar. We can talk to you about everything.
Yeah,
we can just solve education.
We'll think about this one.
Yeah.
How to do this? Did you know this episode's actually broken a new record as well?
What's that?
This is the least you've ever spoken.
Because I'm it.
Yeah, because Ben's here. So by percentage, normally, you dominate at least 60%. Like on a good day, 80% of I'm sort of asking questions, whereas when Ben's around, this is the same for our calls, I'm sure what Mummy's saying, you've actually got a challenger. This is brilliant. I love seeing calls because you're trying to speak over me and then Ben's speaking over you.
This is why we're on the opposite end here.
Next to each other, the pod wouldn't have got done, it'd be chaos. We're just two chatty pals.
What you don't know, this is actually 3 hours of filming that we've done here. We've been this down.
I can barely get a word in edgeways.
Sorry, Dave, I'll just say something.
Ben, if you could just one second, Ben.
Sorry, Hayden, 1 second.
We're just talking for a minute.
Bill, can I say something quick? You on you, mate.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, I was going to say.
I was going to say, this is why sometimes on demos you'll see me and Hayden, or me and Dylan, just there to break it up.
We're never Dylan and Ben. So Dylan and Ben will never be it.
It's an internal running joke that Dylan and I are almost the same person, and the reason, and you can tell that because we both rip each other more than anyone else in the team, because Dylan's exactly like me, massive heads, both of us, as you can see, elephant in the room, huge heads, talk far too much, interrupt people, so I'll
anyway, Ben, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, so and he'll rip me because we're basically the identical person. The best story ever was we had that huge thought leader we were speaking to on a call, and pre it was like, Hayden will do the demo, Hayden will run through it, give him a chance, and then Hayden literally went to speak, so he went, and Dylan went, sorry, Hayden, just give me 2 seconds.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, Dylan went on the most colossal rant you've ever seen. It was like Martin Luther King in his prime.
It was a podcast episode.
It was a podcast episode speech. It inspired the nation, I must say. It was a great speech. And then he had the audacity to say, so that's all from me. And Hayden, if you want to add anything, feel free to add
nothing left to add at this point. There is nothing left. All I can do is look like an idiot.
All I wanted you to do was say, Dylan, that was fantastic.
I think you said ditto.
I said ditto.
And I think that was missed by a lot of people.
Yeah, it was, because you then started talking, or you started laughing, or something happened, so no one even heard me say ditto. The one word I contributed. was not there.
So good.
No, it's all good fun. We have a lot of fun as a team, which I'm enjoying as well.
You look like you had a lot of fun in that face. Then we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we do. I have to say this. We have a lot of fun with our team.
But very quickly, there are people listening who are teachers right now are thinking, "Oh, I want to get out of teaching eventually. This is great." And like we fell on our feet, I think, meeting you guys. And I just want to put a shout out to the whole team. I know it's just you two here with us today, but there's a load of people working on MathsZoo, StoryZoo, all in the background who we work with a lot. And they are such good people. And that's what I'd say to people right now. If you're working in a school and you think it's a great school, I bet it's because of the people you work with.
100%.
And that is always the case, I think. And that's why we were so willing to make this leap. And if you're thinking about leaving teaching or you're thinking about moving schools or whatever it is, I just implore you to think, who is it you're going to spend your time with as a professional? Because they will shape who you are
100%.
and the outcomes you can have.
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
We've got a good family. It's about a dozen of us now, and it's a good.
It's a proper team.
All of us, we're like a big family. Like it's,
Yeah.
and I know that's so cliche and cringe, and usually that's used by like capitalist companies. But yeah, we're a work family, so like you could do 70 hours this week, maybe part of the family. But like genuinely, we are a family.
Ben like literally lets me go to the toilet whenever I want.
Yeah,
Wow, as a teacher?
Yeah.
Oh my
I don't have
goodness.
to wait till break.
As long as she puts her hand up.
Yeah.
No,
We had to really train that out of her. You know? The first thing she'd ring me, Ben, can I just go for the toilet? And I'd be like,
my
No, it is a completely different way. Like when you step out of that, it is a completely different way of working.
What club
it's
does he make
mad.
you do?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
after
to do
school
Lego
every week.
club after
Yeah,
school.
Lego club, yeah. With
No.
Ben's kids.
Yeah.
Like, you got-
I would.
So's
They
childcare
are
lead for my two kids.
Childcare lead.
Yeah, shout out Oscar and Leo. Shout
They
out Oscar
are
and Leo.
amazing children,
Yeah,
and we've
yeah.
all got children. I was going to
Yeah.
mention that earlier. Like the reason why we want this change
Yeah.
is because I
Apart
don't
from
want
John,
my
just saying,
children.
apart from John.
John's got an amazing dog called Stephen.
Shout out
Stephen,
to Dog.
yeah. He's got a very human named dog, so we'll let him on.
And that's why it's a zoo. There's the animal part.
There-
John
yeah.
sorted. It's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
No, like if it's not, I'm going to get really serious now, but if it's not for the change of the masses of the children, I want to see change for my kids. I don't want them to have to go.
Yeah.
Harper's year 4 and she has already had a rough primary school journey with staff leaving, no fault of their own, or different issues or changing stuff, and her confidence has been knocked massively. And that's the change that I want to be. I want her to have those foundations that mean that she doesn't have those issues. And I think that's
I don't think if all of us wasn't parents, I don't think this business would be around. I think that
No.
is my why as well. I think you're spot on. Like my oldest Oscar, I mean my youngest is 1, but my oldest Oscar, he's 3, but I can already tell he's me 101. Like
He's
he's
brilliant.
Jack in the Box. From the second his eyes ping open, he's a nightmare. But I love him to
He's
pieces because
brilliant.
he's just me. And now actually, my poor mum, I'm looking at my son and I'm thinking, oh my god, my mum had twins. She had 2 of us and me. So yeah, God bless my mum and my dad. But for me, I said that to you, didn't I? So originally, I said like, if I want to change, if I want to stay in the UK, because there's a lot of talks with entrepreneurs and high net worths leaving the country. I love England and I just want to see it change. And for me, instead of just taking the next flight off to Dubai or wherever anyone goes, if I want to see the change, I've got to make that difference. And I said that to Sod. Then I said, by the time my kids go to school, I want to have enough pull and enough kind of clout in the industry to make sure that their journey is a seamless one, and all of our kids' journeys are a seamless one, but not just for Oscar and Leo, but for all kids. So that is definitely a huge why and driver for me, because I know that, and my kids are, for anyone that probably doesn't know, almost everyone won't know, but you guys do, my kids have got albinism, so they're obviously severely sight impaired. They're going to struggle immensely. So my oldest Oscar has got ADHD like me, so he'll have that struggle. But equally, he'll have the struggle of being sight impaired, and he obviously will need an EHCP plan or ECHP.
It's EHCP.
EHCP
It's a whole
plan,
new
better
world
one.
for you. Isn't it?
EHCP plan, he'll need all that stuff. But for me, if I can create products that are kind of equal access for all and are accessible and can be used and help my son, I know if it helps Oscar, it'll help many other kids. So, and I know with all of us, it is the same why.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about working together, right? Like we all get parent life, like school runs.
Yeah.
Kids are ill.
Yeah.
The amount of times, I think all of our kids at some point have been on our team calls, and like we all know each other's kids
exactly.
and each other's lives, which is
Well,
so good.
even last week, it was probably nothing to you in the moment because it was just normal. But I really appreciated it. Like I was having a struggle, wasn't I, in terms of childcare? Like just some things were going on, and I was like, and we had meetings booked that morning. I was like, I have to be with River. And you're like, oh, it's all good, bro. Just family first. We'll just change them.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was so easy, and I was getting myself worked up thinking because any other industry, you'd be like,
Well, you were used to it in school, weren't
yeah,
you?
you
It
get
happens all
annoyed.
the
Oh, I'm
time.
going to be held accountable. You're going to get those like sarky comments or the passive aggressive
Well, you
tone
don't
in the
get
next 2
paid
weeks.
if it's your child, do
Right?
you? Like my child is ill, and I've got to think
And
about my pay getting docked. It's just
And I
wild.
work in a school.
Yeah.
This is what I
That's
never
the mad
understood.
thing. That's
I
what
work in a
blows my
school,
mind.
where we all love the outcomes for the children. We care about the kids so much.
But
Your own
not
kid.
your own
So
children.
primarily, if you look at school at like a fundamental level, outside of the teaching element, primarily you guys are very skilled childcare professionals. You shape and care for these children.
Yeah.
So imagine the irony that you're not allowed to and you can't get paid to care for your own kids. That is actually mad.
It's mad. You put
Someone else can do that.
You're putting on the show for the kids' nativity, and you're like, you got to be there. Can I go to my child's nativity at their school? No. What do you mean?
But I can't believe little Johnny's parents didn't come.
Yeah, that's a safeguarding issue.
That's me. Yeah.
Honestly, I've had that, and I've heard some of your listeners say it where they work in the same school as their child and they cannot go to the nativity. That is insane.
You have to go.
What do you mean?
You
can't leave my classroom where I'm on my own 99% of the time? I will be fine.
Yeah.
To go and watch your own
And none of us will get
daughter.
these years back with our kids, right? Like
Exactly.
we need to make sure we're all around for those moments, and obviously I want to make sure we can all do that, and we do, to be fair.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that also comes down to good people, because you three sat here and all the rest of the team. If Soph has an afternoon off to go and see a nativity, Soph will have 3 hours off and she'll work 9, and that's not the reason we do it, but that's also what makes it so easy for me, because I know with everyone involved in the team, no one's going to take the mick, no one's going to try and abuse that generosity, no one's going to try and abuse that flexibility, and all of us are rowing in the same direction for the same common goal. So I'm flexible. Like, as long as we get the work done.
That's the same in schools as well. I think that's why it was it hurt so much to those people, because they were there early, they were there late, they were there on the sports day that wasn't their day.
But you can work late for them. You just can't work early for yourself.
Exactly. It's a one-way. It's a one-way system, and then people have to start thinking about, well, maybe I'm ill that day, or maybe I've got, and that's not nice.
No.
Like, nobody wants to go down that like shady, I need this afternoon off to watch my daughter. It's just horrible. So I think we.
Best approach is what we did, which is just be horribly stubborn. and if someone said, "Oh, you've got to do this," so it's top down, we'd be like, "Nah,
just crash out, just crash out."
I'll just do what I want though, because I know what I'm doing." So shut
But
up.
that's the issue of when you know whether you can or can't. It can still be people are worried about putting their head above the parapet
I
and
agree.
being the person to say it. So that's why we basically started this podcast, was to be like, guys, you can just not do these things. Right?
Isn't
And
it
it's
so
okay.
funny that we've
Stick
all
up.
ended up working together because I was that
Yeah,
person?
yeah.
I was like,
yourself.
hang on a minute, how many hours did you say we do? How many hours was that parents' evening that
Yeah.
I did?
I find it
Carry
mad when
out.
you told me that you have work contracts where it says that you can work with uncapped
Yeah.
to a reasonable expectation.
Yeah.
Like that to me is bonkers. And I don't know what happens in corporate because I've seen it, but like I don't know. I just maybe, although I had a bad experience of teaching, I still for some reason put teaching on a pedestal, even though I personally had a really bad lived experience. I still did put teachers and teach on this pedestal.
Like when you went back in and you were
yeah,
like, hello,
and I was
sir.
just like, yeah, hi miss, yeah. So yeah, I just find that mad.
But did you have any good teachers? Did you have any teachers where you look
Yeah,
back and go, I respect
I had a
them?
business teacher that really advocated for me getting diagnosed, and I actually think that you can't understate. I've never really said this, but you can't understate how much a teacher can actually change your life and your outcome. And I was in a time I was about year 9, year 10, just before getting diagnosed, and my granddad had just died, which obviously was my first big loss in my life. So I was struggling with that. I was struggling with anxiety, and I was struggling with the fact that I would go into school and think, I'm going to go in today and be really good. I'm going to nail my report, green to my reports, and I would find myself in the head teacher's office at lunchtime, and I would genuinely sit there myself and think, how am I here? Like, what have I done? I promised, and I would feel like I'd let myself down. I think I promised myself I'm not going to end up here, but I didn't know that it was completely not my fault. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was times where it was definitely my fault. There was choices made, and they were bad choices. But there were also times where I went in with all the best intentions. Like, I got to a point in my school life in secondary school where I would go in, and in the staff room, any new teacher would be told, "Oh, make a beeline for Ben. You need to assert your dominance in the classroom." So I would walk into a class on those days. Imagine you're a child, Brad, man. And I think some of these teachers forgot I'm a child.
Yeah.
I would go in, we're like, right, I'm going to be a good day. I'd built myself up. I had sort of good self-esteem, was ready for a good day. And they go, right, Sansom out. And you'd be like, I've done nothing wrong. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I had one teacher, Mr. Apongi, his name was, and he basically advocated for me to get diagnosed. Fortunately, he became my deputy head of year, and he was actually a business teacher. And one thing I struggled with being a problem solution mindset, as arrogant as it may sound, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to be a successful businessman. And I had this kind of a bit of arrogant chip on my shoulder of like, well, if you haven't been there and walked the walk, how can you teach me achieve what I want to achieve, right?
Yeah.
So he'd been there and done it. He'd worked in the city, and he'd ended up caring for his mum. And Mr. Apong's story was effectively, he said, I'm going to go into teaching and teach kids. But he'd been there, he'd done it.
Yeah.
So for me, he was the biggest impact on my journey in school, because he saw in me what now many other people have seen in my career, and he said that he would advocate for me as long as I'd done business effectively. So he had me doing business GCSE, he had me doing business A level.
He blackmailed you.
Yeah, but no,
that is genius though, because he focused you.
and he
knew
focused
you
me and
would
engaged
be
me.
successful as
yeah,
well.
like he even when we used to do enterprise week, so everyone would be able to go buy, you know, sweets and sell them. There'd be the 1 week a year you could do it without being in trouble, where everyone was doing it every other week of the year.
Yeah.
But he really empowered me then. Instead of giving me like, you know, one little shop, he would let me judge and give input on everyone's profit and loss and what everyone was doing. Like, he really, really engaged me. And yeah, it's not all such a bad story. Like, without him, who knows what could have happened? I could have just got into a worse and a worse spiral. And by year 11, year 12, I could have completely disengaged. Whereas thanks to him, I'd done all right. I got 5, 6 GCSEs. I got what I needed to get, and obviously it gave me the foundations to go and kick on. So yeah.
I'd say you've not done too bad.
Yeah, I've done all right. Yeah, I've done all right.
Well, he's been on the pod now. So
Yeah, exactly. I've made it.
He's achieved.
Where does this rank?
I think it's all downhill from here.
yeah, you have peaked.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, we should try and wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I just want to say to everyone listening right now that you can book a demo. Down
I knew it.
Excuse me, can I just say something, Dylan? Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, what I wanted to say to people is amazing people are working on this. StoryZoo, MathsZoo. Book a demo, just talk to us. And even if the worst happens where you see us for half an hour and you go, this is wrong, that doesn't work, book, because we want to hear it from people who are on the coalface delivering every single day to the kids. And if you think it doesn't work because of that reason, let us know. And if you think, oh, this will be amazing, which I think you might do, why don't you literally you can get a trial. I want to see people trying this out and ultimately helping the kids.
We will listen, is what you're saying.
Exactly that.
You did forget there is one tiny thing. Let's see if you can remember it. That's got a couple of days left as of when this podcast is coming out. So if you're listening to it
Leave a
on
review.
the day, not leave a review.
Oh.
You can't leave a review.
What's got a couple of days left on it, Dylan? Still think of the
Giveaway.
Giveaway.
Glue sticks.
Yeah, glue sticks.
Actual Pritt sticks.
This is how we know you're your ex-teacher. Because you're like, what?
I
100
looked at
Pritt
it and
sticks?
I
When that was suggested on the whole of giveaway, I was like, okay, fair, but I didn't realise they're gold.
Oh, that'll be
They're
that.
24
Gold
carat gold.
The messages we've had saying, are the Pritt sticks actual Pritt sticks? Yeah.
Do you mean
Yeah,
that
all
my
real Pritt
sheets
sticks.
aren't going to fall out after 2 days? This is
exactly
amazing.
that.
If you have no idea what we're talking about, go and check out the MathsZoo Instagram or our Teach It Repeat Instagram as well, because the giveaway details are on there.
How much is it worth, Hayden?
£1,000
It's unbelievable.
all together. £500 for your school and £500 for yourself if you win.
Well,
Including
£500 of goods.
of stuff,
Yeah,
including
yeah.
the Pritt
Oh,
sticks,
okay.
which is the only thing realistically.
Yeah, so that's
anyone cares about.
490 quid gone.
Yeah, we got you 10 Pritt sticks and
And I
that's it.
think
And a
people,
Costa.
I think they'd be happy.
I
teacher, I'd be like, yeah,
genuinely
fair.
would have been over the
I'd be like, all right,
moon.
I've won a lifetime.
Do you know what's
supply.
amazing? There is actually loads of stuff in there, like Netflix money. There's the Costa thing you said,
HelloFresh.
electric sharpener, HelloFresh.
Yeah, HelloFresh,
yeah.
There's
Post-it
so much
notes,
stuff.
all the good
But
stuff.
Pritt sticks.
Yeah,
That's all we need to say, really, isn't
But
it?
yeah, there's a few days left, so if you're listening to this late, soz. Can't get involved. It might be over now. It's over
Better
now.
luck next time,
But
mate.
you can still like and share if you wanted.
Yeah.
And subscribe. Oh, wait.
Well, let's go to YouTube, Tom, right?
Yeah. Amazing.
Should we make Ben and Sophie sign off?
I think so, yeah, over to you guys.
Come on, guys.
Go on, you, Soph. Ladies first.
Oh, I just want to say thank you for listening. And it was lovely to be here again. And I want to say that the effort and the passion that you two have put into MathsZoo is really amazing. And so please, check it out.
Thank you for joining us. Like, honestly, you two, sincerely, thank you for joining us on this journey. Thank you, obviously, for bringing your product to the group. And yeah, thanks for giving us this platform to talk about what we're doing. Let's rock and roll.
That was nice, wasn't it? I was
okay,
expecting
keep
a
it
little
often.
joke thing at the end, but then
Yeah, no,
loved it. No, thank you for coming on.
Book a demo.